Hello and welcome to How to Win the Lottery Season 9 intro. Shreds, can you believe we're already in Season 9?
Season 9. You know what? That's like the wood anniversary.
Oh, should I? Well, okay. Do you know that some podcasts I was listening to, I don't remember what it was, but they were like there's like the traditional gifts, and then someone modernized that. Mm-hmm. And the new ones are all insane and not good. But I wonder, 9th anniversary gift. Pottery and willow.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that sucks.
I don't know if that's the traditional one. Traditional 9th anniversary gift, pottery and wicker. Modern gift, leather, is another great choice.
Leather. It's our leather year, baby.
It's a leather year, baby.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Joey Lewandowski. That's Shreds. Shreds, we just did Kentucky. We just spent a lot of time in the woods.
Spent a lot of time in the woods, yeah.
We are now doing a full 10-book season. What are we talking about in Season 9?
We are talking about the environment, climate disaster, vegetarianism, ecological stuff.
If that sounds like another uplifting season, you bet it is. I remember when, like,
the wildfires of California.
When my Too Fast co-host Joe, when I told him that we were doing this podcast, like he always liked to make fun of me for like watching like depressing movies, and I'm like, he's like, what? We're all around the theme. He's like, well, what's the first theme? And I'm like,
yeah, it's the
on
first
pain and how you hurt people and how people
yeah.
hurt you. He's just like, what the fuck? Just like, come on. So like here, just like, it's about trees and stuff. It's also about the way that we're killing all the trees.
Right. Well, one day there's going to be a horny module, and you're all going to regret it.
But
you're gonna wish for the days of ecological disaster.
Or the horny module will just never happen because it's funnier if the horny module never happens.
Yeah, we just keep kicking it down the line so that we can keep saying the horny module.
Mm-hmm. But okay, so Eco Season 9. What do we got come up? Because so I know I have read 2 of these 10 books.
I have read, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these 10 books.
Including the 2 that I've read.
Yeah.
Okay. So please hit us with the first book, which will come out next week on May 2nd.
The first book is Land of Milk and Honey by C. Pam Zhang.
Is this one you have read?
I haven't. It's, I think, brand new, right?
Came out in September.
Yeah. Haven't read it yet.
Cool.
Looking forward to it. Don't know much about it. I think it was the most recent edition. I took something else off to put this one on. I don't even 100% remember why I did that, but something about it looked interesting to me, so I added it.
Cool. Number 2 is the best book in the module, unless we are wildly surprised by something else. But the book that, I'm most looking forward to rereading.
Yeah, the Overstory. Best book since the instructions. Best book in, the best book that I've read in a decade.
I remember, I think it must have been, maybe we were driving to visit name bleeped after he broke his body part bleeped. And
so it's going to sound like he broke his Is that the point? Bleep that out too. Bleep that.
But I think I was reading this book and I remember having a conversation with you, like driving through New York and being like, this fucking book, man.
This is a book that I've talked a couple people into reading, and everyone that has read it has been like, kind of like, this book changed my life.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
It like changed the way that I think about the world. And it's the only Richard Powers book that I've read, though I have a bunch of his other books. Like, I own a bunch of his other books, and he is complex and human, writes like beautiful sentences. His books are incredibly well researched. They have big philosophical ideas. They do all the stuff that you want big, important literature to do. This
book, both structurally and thematically, reminded me of Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to rereading The Overstory by Richard Powers. All right, book number 3.
That's a good one. Book 3 is Something New Under the Sun by Alexandra Kleeman. Alexandra Kleeman is a writer who she wrote a book called You Too Can Have a Body Like Mine and a short story collection called Intimations. And both of those were incredibly good. Also like incredibly experimental and kind of difficult books in that they deal with a lot of abstractions and things like that. And this book feels like a turn a little bit more toward mainstream, like writing a thriller.
Is this one you've read?
Yeah. It's kind of about the California wildfires. It's kind of about water shortages. But it's also about, like Hollywood and stuff like that.
Cool.
And it reads a little more like a thriller, like more like traditional genre fiction than her other stuff, but no less good, really high quality. She's great.
Book number 4?
Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth. This is a book about PETA type group, or maybe more like a animal liberation front type group that is trying to liberate 1 million chickens or something like that from one of those big
Like a Purdue style plant?
Yeah, one of those big like mass produce places.
Have you read this one?
I have.
So this is the 4, because I know the other one, which is this is season finale.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then and it's it feels important to include like ideas about eco-terrorism.
Sure.
In this, there's other books that like I kind of want to read, how to blow up a pipeline.
Do you watch the movie?
I did. The book's a nonfiction book,
Yep.
and it doesn't have like characters or anything.
Right.
It's sort of like a treatise on why monkey wrenching is ethically defensible when we're talking about the environment. Another book that I considered was The Monkey Wrench Gang by Edward Abbey, but I think that's in one of the state modules, so I didn't want to redo it on here.
Book number 5.
Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin, a book that I added on here and don't know anything about.
Cool. Book number 6.
Square Wave by Mark de Silva.
That sounds like a beer.
Square Wave? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like White Claw or something, right?
Yeah.
You can like picture the label.
Yep. It's a square and it's also wavy somehow.
Yeah, very simple. Like
Makes it look like a diamond. Yeah.
Kind of like a minimalist design on it. Yeah.
Do you know what that book's about?
I don't. I think that Square Wave, along with The Glacier, which is the next book,
Jeff Wood.
I think both of those are $2 radio books.
Oh,
which are also
Ancient Oceans.
Ancient Oceans of Central Kentucky was a $2 radio book. $2 radio is a I might be wrong. One of these books might not be that, but $2 radio is an independent press that I really enjoy. I think they put out good stuff.
My question to you, so I'm not trying to blow up your spot here or
blow my
really
spot up.
pry into the twisted mind of shreds here, but when you are programming a module, like, are these books that you've heard about and just sort of know that they're vaguely about a certain topic? Like, because I mean, I watch some of the movies, I have no idea what they're about, and I'm like, oh, that's what this movie is about. But like when you're planning things around a theme, like not knowing, again, I'm not trying to be like, you could be wrong here, but like, how does your mind like take a book like Square Wave, for instance, that you don't really know what it's about, but like it fits in here? Is it just something that like?
So I think for that one, probably what happened was I took a press that I really enjoyed, and I like their work and trust the people who curate that work, and I read like descriptions.
Got it.
And so once I know the plot, like a vague back of the book plot. I go, okay, well, that seems like it's worth spending my time on. I did that. That's how I did a lot of the state modules too. Because I would go to I took, instead of Googling like novels that take place in Kentucky or just going from memory, which like a lot of the state stuff I went from memory as well as I could. But like what I did was I went to all the different presses that I really like.
Which is cool.
Like $2 Radio, Dalkey Archive, New York Review of Books. What
was Gion's?
New York Tyrant. Or like, just like I'm blanking. There are a million different presses that I looked at, and I'll go to their books.
But it'd be like
section.
A24. Like you find like a production studio
exactly.
you like, or Annapurna or whatever. Right?
And so like I would just look through all of their books, and then I would just like read the brief summaries. And if those brief summaries like mentioned a state, then I would look into it further.
That's cool.
So it took me a very long time to do the state modules.
No, but that's a more. Like, I think that doesn't necessarily lead to books that you're going to like or are even you might think are good, but they're going to be worthwhile reading because they're curated by they're somewhat to an extent like curated by someone whose taste you appreciate.
Yeah, and it's not all like, so if you look on like, because Goodreads has all these things that are like, here are books from these states too, but it's like it's always like fried green tomatoes at the so-and-so cafe. And it's like, okay, great. But like, I don't know that we're really going to be actually interested in reading that. I'd rather read something by a more contemporary author. No, that's not the case for some stuff like, you know, with like Missouri, for example, there was like some William Faulkner stuff that I was like, I haven't read. So and it feels like he's a regional writer. It feels essential to that, to that state. So we may as well like include him.
Well, like behind the scenes, like when we were doing, I think it was when we had just picked Kentucky for our next module.
Yeah.
I was asking like ChatGPT and like just other like generative AI, like, can you find books in these states? And like,
it mostly sucked, right?
It was mostly just not like sucked, but it was just like mainstream, like, chick lit, right? It was just like, what's the, that's not chick lit's not the most common term. What's the, like mom books? Like, there's a sort of derogatory term for that.
I think you used both of them just now.
No, but I was trying to think, like, I used both because I was trying to think of the one that like is the dismissive. I'm not saying that they are.
Beach reads.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's, you know, sort of soft hitting, not really, probably more plot than character based, focused on, you know, here's a murder happens in the first act, and the third act we figure out who did it and why. And like that stuff can obviously like we just had an immense triumph with First Blood, which is like the kind of book that popped up only because I Googled books in Kentucky at the last minute, because one of the books that we were going to put in
literally while we were on the air. Yep.
Right. So like, and that ended up being great. So like, you can obviously do that too, but like, I don't know. I like to, you know, I like small presses, and I like trying to find books from small presses that we can dig around with.
Which I'm glad. I just like I wanted to sort of understand how you did the thing, the way you did the thing, because like it feels both on the one hand easy to find books like this, but also like incredibly difficult to find books worth discussing.
It's a bit of a gamble. We're gonna I'm sure we're gonna run into some stuff here that we don't necessarily like too much.
Okay. Book number 7, you said The Glacier by Jeff Wood. We already talked about. Book number 8.
The Man with the Compound Eyes by Ming-yi. So I don't know what this book is about. This book was on a list of like books about climate change, maybe, or something like that. And the reason why I included it was because I already owned this book, and I bought it because it has really awesome cover art. And like I blind bought it as a hardcover when it was like brand new. And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the weird coincidental thing is that as we were recording, we just did a full episode. We just did First Blood. Now we're doing this. In between those, I got an email from my price tracker that this book went on sale on Kindle.
Nice.
And so I just opened up the email, like, and that the same thing, like the cover looks super, like it's just kind of like a man or a person, right? Like made of like wavy lines making up a body. Like it's just a very striking cover.
Yeah. So I bought that because of that. So when that came up, and it's been on my bookshelf for a long time, looking for a reason to get read. And so when that came up on like in my cursory, like searching for climate change or eco books, or, you know, books about animal rights,
I dig it.
Yeah, that popped up and I was like, hell yeah.
Book number 9.
The Deluge by Stephen Markley. Here's what I know about Stephen Markley.
Okay.
Stephen Markley wrote a book called Ohio.
Is that in the Ohio module?
It is not. Maybe it is. Stephen Markley's book Ohio was tweeted out by Stephen King, and this immediately made his book a bestseller. Like, because Stephen King has it's like got like the Stephen King bump. His new book, The Deluge, is a book that a guy that I follow. There's a guy that does a podcast called Leaf by Leaf. I think his name is Chris Villa or something like that. And so like through him and following him on Twitter, I've seen like a bunch of it's like a good literary community. And so I've seen some people writing about this book as like, oh my God, this is like one of the,
Oh, this is the 900 page. This is the long one. Yeah.
This is one of the best books. But the third thing here is that Stephen Markley was good friends with roommate when he lived in Inwood. And so like maybe he stayed at house for a while or something.
I have to use bleep technology so many times in this episode about this one guy in particular.
Or he or like maybe like they had an advanced copy of Ohio. I don't know. We'll have to.
But Stephen Markley was like in your sphere.
Yeah.
In our sort of little world.
Yeah. I mean, I never met him. I don't know. But like
God, stop saying his name.
knows him like somehow. I don't know. We can talk to. I might be getting things wrong about this, but it's a name that's always been in the back of my head because I was like, oh, I know someone who knows him, like somehow.
Is this the book? And it might not be the book, and I might just be conflating because it sounds like. But there was the book that the Honorable Judge Matt Early read, the Shackelford book. Is this at all tied to that?
No.
Or is it just like that guy who wrote the Shackelford book wrote another book that people went crazy about as well? Is that a thing?
That's probably more like it.
Okay.
Likely.
So I'm just thinking like the Deluge Water, Shackelford, like whatever boats, but you know. Okay. And then the season finale book that we have both read already
is Drive Your Plows Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, like the Overstory, one of my favorite books of the last 10 years or so. She's great. She is one of those people that is going to win a Nobel Prize.
Cool.
I think. Yeah, she's her book's like just around. I think Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead may have been her first book translated into English, and so her last book, The Book of Jacob, which is incredibly long, was also kind of like a big hit among the like academic parts of the reading community. And I think she's great. And I, so the eco module is one that like once we started this podcast, it was like immediately one of the ones that I thought about, right? Because we had the first sort of like formless module that was sort of about, grief or whatever. And then after that, the modules got much more disciplined. And like from the very beginning, the eco module was one that I thought about that, and we talked about doing. And so it's good to be able to do it now.
I was counting as you were saying that by the end of this is crazy to think about. By the end of this season, we will have done about between 80 and 85 books for this podcast.
Crazy.
But I like that because I think it was when we did Owen Meany, but there were like, you said that there were 3 books that you think are like the best books of the 80s. And like we've gotten to 2 of them.
Yeah.
Have we done 2 or I have read 2? You made me read 2. One was Owen Meany.
What are they? It's I have the 3 of them. It's Owen Meany, Beloved, and Bonfire of the Vanities.
Right. Oh, because I've read Beloved.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
And then Less Than Zero too, probably. But that's,
which you also had me read, which we haven't not covered for the podcast yet. But I just like I think that's really cool that I mean, we're sort of constructing things around things that you want to read anyway, but you're like, I really want to cover Drive Your Plow in some module. Like, what can we kind of like, where can it fit?
Yeah, that's kind of how that's another way that it goes. Like, we'll probably get to, we will get to Bonfire.
And it's not like Jest where it's like, where the idea for that season was, or an idea for a Jest season is building up to a book by talking about the books that it talks about and like things that are influenced by or whatever. It's just like, no, like we're not doing that, but it's like Jest fits into the sports module, Jest fits into the campus module, Jest fits into the unadaptable, whatever, right? Like it's all those different
What are the
things.
big modules left that we have? Horror that we were thinking about doing, AI that we were thinking about doing.
You have a crime and paranoia one that you've been kicking around.
There's the American
surf noir, which so far is just Inherent Vice. We could always do unadaptable again. Inhumanity, the machinery of America, sports and philosophy,
conspiracy stuff,
science and or fiction,
the horny module,
the horny module. That's all the things that I've written down. There might be other ones. Plus,
well, the big one. There is a big, like a really big one that is probably 20 books long, which is like the great American novel and its contemporary counterparts. So we would go through like almost like a.
Do you want to do? Can you make that 26 and do a full year of it?
I could try, yeah.
So you'd have like 13 great American novels, and then 13. Oh, this is the thing that I was like, can you give me an example? And you said no.
yeah.
So it might not work.
No, it's work. But well, we would have to break that in the middle so that we could do a state module though, because we don't want to like
full year.
I could do it, yeah.
But also, I mean, if we do 20 books, that's 40 weeks. You do, well, no, I was going to say, because you could do like, we'll figure it out. I was just thinking like, it'd be cool to be like a year on this one thing.
Yeah. America.
Anything else to say about eco?
I don't think so. Do you do the keep reading thing on episodes where we do the reading? I don't remember if I do crimes on those. I think I promised.
I think you ended everything with a crime.
Arrestable crime every time.
Keep reading though.
Right?
Also, to save the environment, keep reading on Kindle.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Or keep reading on recycled paper.
Well, one year when I was still going to AWP, I bought a book. I don't remember the name of it, but it came with a cover that you were meant to like pulp and then plant in the ground, and the tree would grow from the cover.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
I didn't.
So is that the crime? Not pulping and planting a cover?
Yeah, the crime is ignoring people's intentions.